How did a 19th century monk inspire the Nazis? How do we understand genetic disorders today? And what new choices does that open up?
This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.
Minister, let's take you straight to Westminster, and our correspondent Tamara Cohen is standing by with more information. Tamara, we only heard just a short while ago that she's set to hold a press conference, and now you understand that she is to resign.
Yes, dramatic and significant news coming from Scotland. We heard in the last few moments that Nicola Sturgeon is to hold a surprise press conference this morning, and a senior Scottish Government source has told Sky News they expect Nicola Sturgeon will be resigning at that press conference after 8 years as First Minister of Scotland. Really big moment for the SNP. Nicola Sturgeon, who looked unassailable in terms of her popularity in Scotland, even months or in the last year, there's been little question about her staying on at the helm, is now, we understand, going to be standing down and triggering a leadership contest for who leads the SNP and the Scottish Government into the future. Undoubtedly, she's had a difficult time over the past few months. Her decision to bring in a law relating to gender identification, which put her on a collision course with Westminster, leading the Westminster government to block that, was seen as actually a bit of an own goal for the SNP on an issue at which it seemed the Scottish public did not necessarily agree with her. There's also been a wave of industrial action with teachers and NHS workers in Scotland going on strike, as we've seen in the rest of the country. Her own popularity has certainly taken really an unusual knock in the last few weeks and months in recent polls, for the first time really since she became First Minister. So dramatic news we expect from Nicola Sturgeon, who of course has been involved in Scottish nationalist politics all of her life, taking over from Alex Salmond after the independence referendum back in 2014. Of course, she had tried to get the Supreme Court to rule that another independence referendum could be possible, and they ruled against her, another setback back in October last year. So she gives up the leadership of the SNP with, I'm sure she will be saying, many achievements to her name, but certainly it's been a difficult few weeks and months for the First Minister, and this looks like really a turbulent time for Scottish politics, with no obvious successor waiting in the wings.
And Tamara, significant as well that there was a poll, the Sunday Times panel-based survey as well, that has found that 42% of respondents thought that she should stand down immediately, while 45% said she should remain as First Minister until at least the next Holyrood election. And as you say, probably one of the significant factors is the gender recognition reform bill, but also the fact that at the moment there is that case with the prison service at the moment as well, which also caused some controversy in Scotland. But Nicola Sturgeon and the SNP were at pains to point out that perhaps some of those figures showed a bit more popularity than Rishi Sunak at the moment. But yet clearly she has decided now is the time to stand down ahead of the next election.
I mean, really huge news coming from Scotland. If you're just tuning in, we expect Nicola Sturgeon to announce her resignation in a press conference in the next hour. And yes, as you say, for many years, Nicola Sturgeon's popularity, especially as she stood up to Boris Johnson over COVID measures, seemed really unassailable. She maintained that popularity through many knocks, through the trials of Alex Salmond, through many difficult times in terms of criticism of Scotland's record on public services. But in the last few weeks, it seems that the crown has slipped. And yes, a panel-based poll recently showed that 42% of Scottish people thought she should resign. That will have been really difficult reading for the First Minister. I don't think the popularity levels of Rishi Sunak at the current moment are something that she wants to aspire to. And it seems that the First Minister has decided that after 8 years in the job, it is time for her to step down, that she has had enough, and is a big move for her. Of course, she's been in Scottish nationalist politics all of her life. She's married to the chief executive of the Scottish National Party, Peter Morrison. This is going to be not just a huge move for her, but it's going to trigger a turbulent period for the Scottish nationalists. Of course, they had a setback last October when the Supreme Court ruled they couldn't have another independence referendum. It doesn't actually look as if the polling would necessarily go their way if they did. And while I'm sure she'll say that the party has taken big strides under her leadership, undoubtedly, since the referendum back in 2014, which of course brought about a 55% of Scottish people voting to stay within the Union of the UK, the party has not managed to capitalise on that. They've often said that general elections and local Scottish parliamentary elections are a referendum on independence, but they haven't managed to generate that moment at which independence looks like it could really happen in the near future. And I'm sure that if Nicola Sturgeon is to take questions at this press conference, that may be one of the things she's asked, whether it has been a failure of her leadership not to have brought the party closer to independence, especially since she's been so critical of the Conservative government and the effect of its policies on Scotland. So it'd be very interesting to see what she's asked and what Nicola Sturgeon says has triggered this. Certainly the issue of the gender recognition bill has weakened her leadership. She stood up for that measure. She said that she wanted to carry it through, was blocked by the Westminster government, and instead of that being a moment of strength in which the Scottish nationalists were able to say, look, we're going it alone, it seemed that she wasn't in tune with the Scottish people's views on that, and the issue proved incredibly divisive. So really a huge moment in Scottish politics, and we look forward to hearing from Nicola Sturgeon. Who may take the reins afterwards is going to be a key focus of the days and weeks ahead, and I imagine that there'll be quite a few contenders. There isn't any obvious successor waiting in the wings, as there was, for example, when Alex Salmond stood down as First Minister back in 2014, and it seemed all but a done deal that Nicola Sturgeon, who was his protege, would take over from him then. But what a career at the top of Scottish politics, and it seems that now her time in office is almost over.
Incredibly popular politician for so long, the first female First Minister, the first woman to lead any of the devolved UK administrations. We cannot underestimate just how significant this is for Scottish politics, but of course for the United Kingdom too, because Nicola Sturgeon wanted to spearhead the independence debate and the vote for independence. Not insignificant then that she has now decided to resign, and presumably feeling considerable amount of pressure. As you mentioned, the poll I mentioned earlier, Isla Bryson, a lot of questions being asked in press conferences in Scotland recently when Isla Bryson, a double rapist, was placed in a women's prison. A lot of questions around that, the transgender debate in Scotland, but also perhaps the independence debate as well.
That's right. Certainly the case of Isla Bryson, there was a very difficult interview that Nicola Sturgeon did on ITV News a couple of weeks ago, in which she was asked to define what a woman is, and if what a woman is different if a woman is in prison, and seemed to unravel on that issue. But perhaps that was a catalyst rather than the cause, Sima. It just seems that in many respects that the popularity she's enjoyed since becoming First Minister in 2014, I mean, don't forget, the Scottish nationalists have been in power in Scotland since 2007. It's an incredible run under her predecessor and now Nicola Sturgeon, and it seems that perhaps we reached a tipping point where she could no longer enjoy those levels of popularity. This gender identification issue split the SNP, with figures like Joanna Cherry, key MP in Westminster, criticising Nicola Sturgeon. You don't often see SNP MPs criticising their leader. They've been incredibly disciplined, and also differences of opinion, of course, on many of the difficult issues which have faced all governments across the UK, on strikes, on public spending. And it seems that the momentum for that second independence referendum has really, you could only say, stalled in recent weeks and months. I think as soon as Nicola Sturgeon makes this announcement, there's going to be a big focus on who may take over, and certainly the 42-year-old Finance Minister Kate Forbes is seen as a front runner, and that will be particularly interesting because she's a religious conservative who has opposed same-sex marriage. So in terms of taking a liberal turn on some of these issues which have split the Scottish people, it seemed that certainly, if she was to throw her hat into the ring, that would take things in a very different direction.
OK, Tamara, thanks for now. You're watching Sky News with the breaking news this hour that Nicola Sturgeon is to resign as Scotland's First Minister. I've just been speaking to one of my contacts with the SNP. They say she's just had enough. Let's see. We'll be hearing from a news conference from Nicola Sturgeon in just a few moments. Connor's standing by for us. Connor, what do you know?
Yeah, well, Nicola Sturgeon, as we've been hearing, one of the most formidable political figures in the whole of the UK, one of the most formidable figures in politics in the history of Scotland. I'm outside Nicola Sturgeon's official residence here in Edinburgh, Bute House, where in a matter of about 40 minutes or so, Nicola Sturgeon will be taking to the podium, and Sky News understands she will be announcing her resignation as First Minister of Scotland. Now, of course, Nicola Sturgeon is the face of Scottish independence. She has had major success over the course of her tenure as First Minister when it comes to election wins. She's been the leader of the SNP since 2014, the First Minister of Scotland since that time, of course, taking over from Alex Salmond in the face of that independence loss in 2014. She has won every election in Scotland ever since, and it has been emphatic wins in each of those elections. The most recent Scottish election, she won the highest share of the constituency vote in the history of devolution. But as we've been hearing, things have been beginning to unravel slightly when it comes to Nicola Sturgeon's popularity in recent months. There have been a number of issues that have been tricky, I think it's fair to say, for Nicola Sturgeon when it comes to the issue around gender recognition. Just before Christmas, Holyrood passed a bill allowing it to make it easier for people to change their legally recognised gender. That got through the Holyrood with a majority of votes. But at that point then, the UK government stepped in and said it would not be in keeping with UK equality laws. It may not be in keeping with equality laws, and another legal battle is due to get underway on that front. But within that row, there has been splits within the party as well. Joanna Cherry, a senior SNP figure, has been a very outspoken critic of the leadership of the SNP, because let's remember as well, Nicola Sturgeon's husband, Peter Murrell, is the chief executive of the same party that Nicola Sturgeon also leads as well. And we've also had a first cabinet resignation for Nicola Sturgeon, the first time that has happened over a government policy matter since the SNP came to power more than a decade ago now. Ash Regan decided that she could not vote with the government on those gender recognition laws, and she took that decision to resign. That again was a difficult moment for Nicola Sturgeon, an embarrassing moment, the first time that has happened for the SNP. But also, of course, in recent weeks, as we've been telling you here on Sky News, the issue of the trans prisoner row, the case of Isla Bryson, the double rapist here in Scotland, who changed their gender after being known as Adam Graham, now known as Isla Bryson. Nicola Sturgeon has been really in a difficult spot over the last couple of weeks, trying to, when under questioning, trying to ascertain whether that person, Isla Bryson, is a man or is a woman. That has been a tricky time for Nicola Sturgeon. But also around the issue, of course, of independence, that key pilgrim of what the SNP is all about here in Scotland, the founding position of that party. The campaign hasn't really progressed a whole lot in the time that Nicola Sturgeon has come to power. It could be argued that some within the party would say that yes, polling is suggesting independence and support for independence is over the 50% mark. Of course, it was 45% in that 2014 vote, but it hasn't really edged a whole lot on. And of course, there was that standoff just before Christmas, once again at the tail end of last year, when the Supreme Court had to get involved about whether Holyrood had the powers to hold a second independence referendum. That was blocked, and again that created a fresh standoff with the government at Westminster around whether Nicola Sturgeon suggests Westminster should have the power to veto that second vote for Scots to talk about their constitutional future. Those are just a few issues. The party is due to meet in just a couple of weeks' time to discuss that route forward. I don't think this will come as a great surprise to those in Nicola Sturgeon's inner circle. She has been in power for a long time here in Scotland. It certainly will come as a great shock to her political opponents and others within the independents because there are questions about who takes over, who is that credible new face of the Scottish independence cause. Her deputy, John Swinney, used to be the party leader here in Scotland for the SNP. Will he step up on an interim basis? Other figures, including the Health Secretary here in Scotland, Humza Yousaf, will he be seen as a credible figure? He's at a turbulent time when it comes to the health service north of the border in recent months as well. So there are big questions about what happens next for the SNP, what happens about this period going forward for the Scottish Government, and how long will Nicola Sturgeon stay in post? Will she ride it out until the next Scottish election? Is this press conference that's due to be held here in the next 40 minutes or so a time for Nicola Sturgeon to lay out who her successor will be? Those questions hopefully will be answered in a matter of moments, but the breaking news here on Sky News is that we understand Nicola Sturgeon is due to resign as Scotland's First Minister in a matter of moments.
Indeed so. And Conor, I've just spoken to an SNP contact asking what's happened, why she has decided to resign, and they told me she's just had enough. That was the direct quote when I asked why she has decided to step down. As you were pointing out, we're not sure at this news conference at Bute House at 11 o'clock in around about 45 minutes' time whether she will choose to step down immediately or indeed whether she will take some time to reflect on that. Our political editor, Beth Rigby, is with us. Beth, what's going on?
Morning, Kay. Well, we're expecting that Nicola Sturgeon is going to announce her resignation as Scottish First Minister at this press conference at 11 a.m. this morning. As I understand it, she will remain in post until somebody else takes over, but that's certainly not a commitment from the current First Minister to lead the SNP into the next general election. As I understand it, she'll stay in post until somebody else takes her seat. So it's not immediately happening, the resignation. As to why it's happening, well, as you said, someone said to me that she has, to quote my source, had enough. Why now? Another source said, well, she always liked an element of surprise. And when she sets out her reasons, I'm told that it won't just be about the current state of politics, but that it's about being in the job as well for a long time and perhaps time to do something else. Someone name-checked Jacinda Ardern, the New Zealand Prime Minister, that just surprised everybody by standing down. And you remember she said, I haven't got enough fuel in the tank for the job. I don't know if that's the sort of language Nicola Sturgeon will use, but certainly it's not about sort of the current Scottish politics. Apparently it's broader than that, but that's all I know so far.
Beth, we will come back to you shortly. Thanks very much indeed. Meantime, let's just look at, Conor, just looking at the latest polling, 42% of Scots now want the First Minister to step down immediately. Well, that's exactly what she's done.
Yeah, Nicola Sturgeon has been careful over the course of the last couple of years when it comes to polling to say, well, one poll says this on one day and the next it may be a very different story. I think Nicola Sturgeon will be using this position here at this press conference at her official residence here in Edinburgh very shortly to sort of set out the course ahead on her terms. This will be her wanting to take control of the situation rather than leave it up to what may happen in an election going forward. But I think it is worth pointing out, whether you're a fan of Nicola Sturgeon's politics or not, that she has led the SNP to election win after election win since she came to power. Now, her opponents would argue that that could be because she is the figurehead of the independence cause. Yes, there is the Green Party here in Scotland as well, but really the SNP is that dominant force when it comes to the independence cause, and she will be using this as her opportunity to take control of the situation, to set out in a measured way. And I don't think she's too fazed by the polling, although she's aware of it. She may be feeling tired of the general debate within politics at the moment. She's spoken in the past about misogyny and the abuse that's levelled at her when it comes to social media. She has put up with a lot, she would say, when it comes to that over the course of the last couple of years. So has she had enough? Has she taken the decision, in light of what Beth was saying there about Jacinda Ardern, saying she's not got enough in the can? Is that Nicola Sturgeon's position? Well, we'll find out very, very soon. But there are big questions now about the future of the independence cause, the future of the path ahead for the SNP, around who this next credible figure will indeed be. And no doubt some figures will be coming out in the coming hours to lay their path ahead.
And Beth, the leader of the SNP in Westminster, also stepped down recently.
Yes, that's right. And I think the big question for the SNP here is that Nicola Sturgeon has been so front and centre stage for the SNP and in Scotland as the leading politician, that who replaces her. There's not an obvious candidate that stands out. Perhaps Angus Robinson, the former Westminster leader of the SNP, but there is not an obvious presence as Nicola Sturgeon has been, and that does raise huge questions for the future of the SNP and for the future of the second referendum cause. I think for Labour, this will be a real boon because Anna Sanwar, their leader in Scotland, has been trying to rebuild. We know that for a Labour government to get into power, there has to be a path through Scotland. And as I understand it, Labour were hoping that they could pick up maybe 14 or 15 seats, best case scenario, in the next general election in 2024 or at very latest January 2025, in order to try and win in Westminster. And for Nicola Sturgeon to stand down as the First Minister will be a huge opportunity for Labour to try and win back some of the support that they have lost to the SNP in recent years as Starmer tries to get back into number 10.
Okay, thank you. Let's bring in Professor, John Curtis. Hello to you, Professor Curtis. We're expecting that news conference in around about 40 minutes' time. Goodness me, what a surprise.
Yes, I have to admit straight away, it was obvious that Nicola Sturgeon was under some pressure as leader, but I certainly don't think anybody expected her to go anytime soon. Indeed, she'd already committed herself to remaining as First Minister through to the Scottish Parliament session, that is through to the spring of 2026. But I think the difficulty that she has been facing in recent weeks are not necessarily, or at least simply, to do with the headlines about the argument about the gender recognition bill, where there obviously is some disquiet within her party, but this was no longer simply an SNP bill. It was in the end a cross-party measure. I think the real question mark has been whether or not Ms. Sturgeon was still going to be able to maintain control over the strategic direction of her party over the question of independence. There have been lots of voices inside the SNP, Angus MacNeil, Stuart MacDonald, particularly amongst the MP group of the SNP at Westminster, raising questions about whether or not the party should be fighting the next UK general election as a so-called de facto referendum. And I think it's by no means entirely clear that Ms. Sturgeon's original plan for that de facto referendum was necessarily going to survive the conference that the party is due to hold next month. Now, of course, what certainly this means is that if Ms Sturgeon is standing down soon and there's going to be an election, then I think almost undoubtedly that argument about the strategy for achieving independence is within the SNP is going to have a whole new life, which raises questions, of course, about whether or not the SNP in the next few months is going to be talking to the wider electorate, whom ultimately it will have to persuade if independence is ever going to happen.
I spoke to an SNP contact who said to me she's just had enough. Do you think it's as simple as that?
Well, I mean, one can certainly understand why she might feel that way. After all, she had, went through the COVID pandemic in a manner that, she was the hands-on leader. She was the person who was doing the press conference. She's talked about the pressure, the decisions that she had to make at that time. And some of us wondered thereafter, whether or not she would indeed still want to continue going through as First Minister in the light of that experience. But she carried on. She seemed as though she wanted to stay ahead. But maybe now the fact that she has for the first time hit significant difficulty politically over the gender recognition bill has meant that she really is indeed now finally decided that perhaps, as the former New Zealand Prime Minister put it, no longer has enough inside the tank.
Okay, thanks. Beth, the Supreme Court decision went against the SNP recently. How damaging was that for her in her position?
Politics have got stickier for Nicola Sturgeon for sure in the past few months. In terms of the second referendum, Nicola Sturgeon put that to the court. She tried to put that bill through Holyrood, but she was told by the English Supreme Court, that they wouldn't be legally able to have that second referendum. She then pivoted to trying to turn the next general election into a de facto referendum, as the SNP put it, on whether or not Scotland should have independence. But there has been a lot of criticism about her second referendum strategy, and certainly a sense that from the momentum that she saw in the Holyrood elections, that momentum has begun to slow. So that has clearly been a problem for her. But as John was talking about, the gender recognition bill and the difficulties there, the double rapist being sent to a female prison, the controversy around that, resulting in 4 out of 10 Scottish voters in a recent poll saying that Nicola Sturgeon should stand down as First Minister, has really put the pressure upon her. But as I was saying, according to one of my sources, it's not. It is an element of surprise in this. I think people were not expecting this. I was certainly surprised to hear that she is going to stand down. But I've been told by someone who knows that this is about a broader issue than just immediate political difficulties. It's not just about current politics. They referenced Jacinda Ardern to me, talked about Nicola Sturgeon as well, perhaps recognising a few things, as they put it, in terms of her political life and what she might want to do next. But yeah, it certainly has been a difficult and bumpy period for her politically, and perhaps she's just decided that she has had enough of it.
Okay, thanks. Stephen Kerr, MSP, on Twitter. Nicola Sturgeon looked around at the mess of her own making: gender reform, NHS crisis, strikes, council funding, A9 delays, education disaster, ferries and more, and she threw in the towel, is what Stephen Kerr, MSP, on Twitter says. Jim Sillars, former deputy leader of the SNP, is with us now. Hi, Jim. Your thoughts?
Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR, S for Star, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Medasse.
Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clement, the author of How to Go From Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business but you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature on life.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lamb Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lamb Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 07498911820, or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail, info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamb Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Prampram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodova, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. These locations are about an hour away from the airport, only 35 minutes from the motorway, 10 minutes drive from Central University College, 10 minutes drive to the beach, and close to Prampram Senior High School and Ghana Men's Soccer Center of Excellence. For more details, visit our website www.myafricaproperty.com or call our UK office on 0208 123 2523. For our US and Canada offices, call us on +1 585 184 994145. You can also email us at ghana@myafricaproperty.com.
Tune in to On Point here on Starr Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
Check me out. He tells me my energy is making him tired.
Yes!
How do you get the energy to do that?
I've been told that I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match, people. I have met my match, Miss Suzanne. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that's the start of digging the hole of darkness.
So what did that?
Myself and the world will adjust. And 2019.
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on The CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour Show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour Show is your best source into the property industry.
Broadcasting live online. Turn it on. Turn it up.
Hi there, this is CJ Buckman, your life coach. And whenever I'm in London, I listen to Starr Radio UK right here. But guess what? You can listen to wherever you are.
Bekutu, show them you got the cocoa set. Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy Harry Song, aka Mr. Songs. This is the Kingmaker Baba for the girls. We're here. This is Star Radio. Don't go nowhere. UK, London. We they call them London for home. For here, we they call them London. And that's how you know. Just have fun and stay blessed.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
All around the world. In your car.
At work.
At home.
On your smartphone.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Are you ready to turn it up?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Hey there, this is Archie, and it's Starr Radio UK and the morning show.
This is Starr Radio. This is
UK.
Starr Radio
UK.
This is Starr Radio
UK.
Welcome. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7.
That's what makes you great.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you wherever you might be on planet Earth, and those of you on other planets as well. We want to salute each and every one of you and welcome you to the Wednesday edition of the morning show. Today is the 15th of February, the year 2023. Time now 10:37 from the hearts of London. And it's your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London, as I said. But let me say good morning to my team this morning, Mr. Olayomi, Mr. Francis Guy, my able producer, Kojo D, Felix all the way in Aberdeen, Anthony Adedeji, massive good morning to you. Bishop Adesina, good morning to you as well. Dr. Martin, good morning. Mama Lane, good morning to you. Maybe it's a good morning. But you are all wonderful people and presenters on Starr Radio UK as well. I salute you to the one and only.
Love for you runs deep.
HRH Linda Pallian and the family, but a new addition to the family as well. A new baby girl there. Whoa! And I say congratulations to you from the hearts, from all of us on Starr Radio UK. Okie dokie do. Wow, some breaking news happening live at the moment, and as you all, those of you who joined us in the beginning of the program, there's set to be a press conference that will be taking place around 11. Don't you worry, if you miss it, don't worry about it, because we'll bring it to you just after the program at 12 o'clock. But it pertains to the intended resignation of the first Scottish Prime Minister. or the first Prime Minister of Scotland, let me put it that way, Nicola Sturgeon. So we all keep our fingers crossed on that one. But share the broadcast with your friends and loved ones and invite them to like our pages. Mr. Frank Davis, massive good morning to you and to the family as well. And to every one of you who's tuned in this morning to listen to us. It is the Star Radio UK Morning Show. I remain yours sincerely, the one and only.
This is the morning show with Archie.
Well, so 10 days on for the election in Nigeria. Is it going to hold or not? Somebody asked the question, will your anchor hold in the storms of life? Who knows? Well, we're going to be telling you more about that once I have Mr. Olayomi Koiki on at 11. But that will be preceded by the quote for the day, the weather forecast, and the travel updates. And then we'll go global trotting from there. We'll then from there, after Olayomi at 11:30, open the lines for you to add your voice to the discussions. And then we'll look at other stories making the rounds in other parts of the world. Exactly at 12 o'clock, the curtains will be brought down for the end of the program. And during the course of the program, we'll do our best to see whether we can get some of the information or some of the press conference that is going to be coming your way from Scotland this morning, so that you don't miss out in anything at all. But if it happens that you miss out on it, don't you worry. As I said, I'll bring you the full length of that press conference that's going to be taking place at 11 o'clock. Yes, by 11 o'clock, we are having Mr. Olayomi Koiki on this platform. It is a Wednesday edition of the morning show, so we are pressed with time already. So let's crack on. 10:40 the time. Well, the quote for the day says, every organization is a reflection of the man in charge. That is quite an interesting one, isn't it?
All of you makes my heart beat. You make a dog.
Okay, so now let's move on straight to the weather front. Let me tell you what is happening on the weather front this morning. For the weather for London and the southeast of England, this is how the weather is going to be. This afternoon, we'll see any patches of mist and fog lift to leave more places dry with winter sunshine. A band of cloud and light rain will move in from the west towards the evening. Now, tonight, we'll see some patchy light rain early on, but this soon moves east and some brief clear spells then develop. However, cloud increases from the west overnight with some rain by dawn. Temperature is going to be 14 degrees, the lower is going to be 6 degrees. UV level is going to be moderate, pollution is going to be low. Sunset 17:15 and sunrise for tomorrow morning 07:15 hours. And that brings us to the end of the weather forecast. And let's move on straight to your travel update, but after this short commercial break. Stay tuned and don't you go away.
Tune in to On Point here on Star Radio UK with Empress Regina every Monday at 5 p.m. GMT. Looking forward to your company.
This is Starr Radio UK.
Okay, so keep your eyes on the roads, and we'll keep you navigated. I promise I'll be on the Star Radio Travel Up there. I come to every weekday from 10:40. It's now 10:42. Well, so for those of you traveling on the underground this morning, the Bakerloo line has got part closures until Saturday the 11th until Sunday the 19th February. No service between Queen's Park and Harrods and Wilston. No London Overground service between Euston and Watford Junction. Replacement buses are operating, so please check before you leave. On the second line as well, there seem to be minor delays clockwise due to a train cancellation. Good service anti-clockwise. The Jubilee line has also got minor delays due to train cancellations. And as we've been announcing on the London Overground until the 20th, Monday the 20th of February, no service between Euston and Watford Junction. No Bakerloo line between Queen's Park and Harrow and Wilson. Use London North Western Railway services for Harrow and Wilson and Bashay. Okay. The London Tram Link is also partly closed until Sunday the 19th. No service between Therapia Lane and Wimbledon. Replacement buses are operating between Warden Marsh and Wimbledon Calling at Amper Way, Therapia Lane, Beddington Lane, Mitcham Junction, Belgrave Walk for Phipps Bridge, and Morden Road for Donald Donald Road, use Wimbledon. Okay, some information there for you, but let's move on straight to the major roads in London. Let me tell you what is happening on that one as well. So on the major roads in London, A10, A2, A3, A4, A41, Central London Red routes have all got closures, and also A1, my apologies, has got serious delays. So if you can avoid it, do your best to avoid that. Now, the London, the River Bus has got good service there, and the London Cable Car good service there as well. But moving on to the final segment of the travel update, as the National Rail this morning. First haul trains, Grand Central, Great Western Railway, London North Eastern Railway, Lumo trains, Northern Line or Northern Rail, and Southwestern Railway have all got minor delays. That aside, all the others have got good service. And as I will say it all the time, say it loud. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good dawn to you, wherever you might be on planet Earth. Enjoy your commute for today, but you know what? Continue to keep those eyes on the roads.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Welcome back to the program, Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I'm bringing the time now to 4 minutes. My apologies, 14 minutes to the top of the hour. That's 14 minutes to 11. But let's go global trotting. Let's go global trotting this morning. Well, when it comes to what is happening in Nigeria, new Naira, federal government, the CBN will act after Supreme Court ruling. That's what the presidency is saying. So, but have they adhered to the ruling of the Supreme Court at the moment? Whatever the Supreme Court has said, have they adhered to that? Now, new Naira Supreme Court adjourns. New Naira Supreme Court adjourns Kaduna, Kogi, and Zamfara suit hearing, and then federal government summons Finnish envoy over Simon Ekpe's threat. Okay, and then resist interim government temptation. Afenifere tells Buhari. The Pan-Yoruba socio-political organization Afenifere has again called on the president, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, to resist any temptation or pressure to force on Nigerians any form of change of government that is not a product of democratic practice. But the question is, are Nigerians going to have a free and a fair election when it all comes to it? Well, we'll be telling you more about that as the days rolls on. We got how many days more? 10 days more for that election to take place. But as whether it's going to be or not, that is another question, and we'll be bringing you more on that front as well. But let's look at some of the other stories making the rounds. Here in the UK, Nicola Sturgeon is to announce resignation in news conference. Scotland's First Minister will speak to journalists at 11 from her official Edinburgh residence build house. We'll be telling you more about that, or we'll try to bring you a cover of it. Don't you worry. Once we have Mr. Olayomi Koiki bringing you the updates, after that we'll still bring you the full coverage of that press conference. So just be rest assured, updates from Nigeria exactly at 11 o'clock. Now, Corbyn won't be Labour candidate, Starmer is saying. Keir Starmer says the party has changed permanently under his leadership and we are not going back. So they're saying that, well, Jeremy Corbyn is not going to be having the chance to stand on the Labour ticket. So is it going to go as independent candidate, or is he going to just step down for someone else to go? That is another question that is being asked. Boy who survived Tire Cave rescue dies in UK. The 17-year-old was enrolled in a football academy in Leicestershire since late last year, but he's died. That's a sad one. Olive oil and milk prices rise as inflation falls. Now, UK inflation, a measure of the cost of living, fell to 10.1% in the year to January. Well, but they're saying that, well, though they're saying that this is falling, that is falling, we can see things rising, isn't it? But it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. And US suspects 3 objects it downed were benign. Okay. Now, the White House says the aircraft may have been tied to commercial or research entities. Well, so why is it that when maybe organizations are going to do anything of the sort, they see clearance from maybe the security of the U.S. say that, look, we want to be doing this test, blah, 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 so we want to float it, we want to float that balloon, and then they do that. So everybody knows that that is what is going on. They can be monitoring, and then as and when it's drifting or something, do something about it. But it seems not to be the case, so they're saying that, well, so the next moment they say, there's some balloons there. Some are saying there might be aliens who are trying to get into our territory and all sorts, but we end up shooting them down. What about that? Okay. Louis Vuitton picks Farrell to lead men's design is one of the stories making a Russian journalist jailed for highlighting Mariupol. Mario Ponomarenko faces 6 years for detailing Russia's deadly attack on a theater in Ukraine. Well, I tell you, until this war is over, I don't know how many people who are going to be going down that way. U.S. man freed 28 years after wrongful conviction. Lamar Johnson supporters cheered in the courtroom when his murder conviction was overturned. Wow. So can you just imagine if he faced the capital punishment, and then later on they find out that he wasn't the culprit? Well, that's why some people call for the abolition of the capital punishment. Some states have done that, some countries have done that, but others think that the fact that people are not facing that, does not deter others from behaving the same way or committing crimes that are, quite evil. Okay? But what do you think about all that? More going to be coming your way on that front. Starr Radio UK. Tunisia arrest sparks fears of escalation. A wave of arrests by Tunisian security forces has sparked fears that President Kais Saied is resorting to tougher measures against his opponents. Some of the stories making the rising seas threaten exodus of biblical scale once UN Chief Antonio Guterres. Where? Now, Zambian court grants bail to Croatians on trafficking charges, and Brazil rebut in Rio as Carnival street parties return. Well, a bit of normality there. And in another sad development there, we don't have still the details of the whereabouts of Christian Atsu, the former Black Stars player who plays for a team in Turkey. Apparently, Christian Atsu's shoes found in rubble days after Turkey earthquake. So the chances of finding him alive is virtually very, very slim, because now we've gone how many days more on? That is about 10 days on, and we actually about 240 hours since that first earthquake happened, and well, we hope to see, keeping fingers crossed. Who knows? Well, it's all coming your way from Starr Radio UK, your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. Now, when it comes to Ghana, Fitch has downgraded Ghana's credit worthiness to deeper junk status, assigns restricted default to government bonds. Well. So, are we sinking? Are we, rather scratching the bottom of the barrel and rather digging deeper into a hellhole that we find ourselves as Ghanaians? Well. More going to be coming your way. Kano Furiata has been very disappointing as Finance Minister Sophia Ekufu is saying. They are all related. They are all some way, somehow in the same family up there. But Sophia Ekufu, in her in response to what Gabi Ochiri-Darko has said, is that Gabi can call me paranoid, but I don't care. Sophia Ekufu back to Pickett's finance minister in the finance ministry. That's what some of the stories saying. How did final bond subscription go from 50% to 85% in 24 hours? Bryce Simon is asking the question. What did they actually do their stuff to it, or what? Well, we're going to be looking at it. Breaking overlord of Mamprugu and Skins new chief for Boko. That is another story making the rounds there, and we hope that will resolve some peace in that area. Some peace in that particular area as well. It is Starr Radio UK. It is your favorite African and Caribbean radio station in London. I can't continue to take the blame while you hide. Who is speaking then? Well, President Nadu Dankwa is reported to have chastised the head of state's own institution, head heads of state-owned institutions whose agencies are non-performing. According to a report, the Chronicle newspaper, the president said that he and his ministerial appointees are always blamed for the bad performance of the economy, while heads of state entities who are also responsible are overlooked. The box sucks with you, man. So you are the one who have to say whatever. And then IMF have assigned a resident advisor in financial sector supervision to the Bank of Ghana. Well, so what is happening there? And Fitch also downgrading them. Oh my. Lots more going to be coming your way, but for now, let's take this music, and at 11 o'clock, we'll be having Mr. Olayomi Koiki on. This is from the one and only CC Bedu, and he says, Kabiosi, enjoy it, and I'll be with you. Stay tuned. Don't touch the dial.
Like this, come on.
God of heaven, let the earth together sing your praise.